everybody out there. You're tuned in to 91.8 The Fan. You're in my corner, and I have a very special guest in the corner. Would you like to unveil your secret identity to the masses?
I am the voice actor who stalks in the night. I don't have a rest for this. I'm just gonna go with it. I'm Clifford Chapin, voice actor. I do some voiceover with Funimation and Okratron out here in the Dallas, Texas area.
I like how you tried, though. You were trying to do the
Yeah, I didn't think it through far enough, so it's okay.
Well, one day we'll
One
read,
day.
the
One
voice actor man comic. It'll happen.
Yes.
Don't worry.
Fox Man.
I'm trying to think what his outfit would be.
It probably would be microphones somewhere. I don't know.
That would be kind of uncomfortable to fight in because they'd all hit
Yeah,
each other. Wait, they could hit each other and make some sort of feedback.
yeah, and then like his outfit would have designs of like audio waveforms, and I think it could work. I think we're going places with this idea. We should talk after the interview.
Yeah, we don't want anybody to take this idea.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Shh, shh. Hush, hush, very hush, hush.
But for
NDAs, NDAs.
exactly. But for the listeners out there, I have to ask the very basic of basic questions, which is what initially sparked your interest into acting?
Um, well, let's see. It's an interesting question. The first thing I ever did as a voice actor, which was sort of like my building block to becoming a voice actor, was I learned at a very, very young age, like I was a toddler, how to mimic the sound that my diabetic cat would make when it was throwing up. And I used to punk my mom because she would like run in to take the cat off of a rug and make sure it wasn't throwing up on any rugs and stuff. And I used to think that was hilarious. So as like a little 3-year-old kid, I would make the sound and then make my mom come running in. And that should have been their first indicator that this was what I was going to go into pursuing as a career and everything.
That is
Um,
beautiful.
yeah, it's a great story, right? I was just a little jerk 3-year-old, and now I'm an actor. But the honestly, the first thing that ever made me want to go into the entertainment industry was, strangely enough, um, the first episode of Power Rangers. I was 5 when Power Rangers came out, and I watched it, and I loved it, and I was like, I want to do this, and like I didn't know anything about like film industry stuff at all, but I wanted to make things like Power Rangers, so I kind of always pursued radio and television classes and everything growing up in school, and I ended up going to college for film production to learn and become a director. And through that process, um, I sort of learned acting through working with actors, in the way that I was like, no, 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 I want your delivery to be like this, and this is what you're thinking, and this is what that sort of thing, and that effectively is how I learned how to act. And and then just kind of funny, I never grew out of cartoons growing up, and my dad one day said to me, he's like, I always thought it was weird that you wanted to be a film director because your whole life's been about cartoons. And I was like, oh, I made a mistake. And then it was sort of like, all right, I'm going to switch my focus, and I switched into pursuing voiceover, and that's sort of a really digested version of it, but that's the whole story.
Well, I think it's interesting that you mentioned that you got to watch actors because a lot of times when I'm talking to voice actors that also direct, I'm like, well, as a voice actor, you must be able to sympathize with who you're directing. So for you, it must have been a little bit of the opposite because you were kind of just being exposed to that world.
Yeah, it was a little bit strange because, or just a little bit backwards, I guess, in that way, because like I said, I never really took acting classes or anything like that. It just was um, by working with actors, and then it was just getting them to do the thing that I wanted was what made me sort of realize this is how you act. And then I kind of just, I guess, got pretty good at it, or good enough at it, and that's sort of how I just curtailed it a little bit.
Well, that makes a lot of sense to me because I feel like a lot of, especially in acting, some of the learning process is literally just watching someone else and
Mhm.
trying to mimic them and then make it your own.
Yeah, I would agree. There's certainly a an element of that. I've just the other day I was listening to someone talk because I was like, I need to memorize this person's voice. The voice was so unique sounding, and just the way that they talked and everything. I'm like, I need to like practice that one because I want to do that one day, just for that same reason. You know, you build characters and you make something real from it, and what's more real than real life, right? So, you know,
Yeah, I've heard plenty of people say that they sometimes go to shops just to listen to
mm-hmm,
other people talk, just to
mm-hmm.
kind of digest everything and learn, hey, maybe I can make that character. And it's not really
Yeah,
a character, it's based off of a real person.
yeah, exactly. So, which is the whole artifice of acting, right? Is to make something real. So,
Mhm. Well, for the fans out there, I'm sure they've definitely heard your name in Attack on Titans because the cast was announced for that through a really kind of remarkable way. I
mm-hmm,
hadn't seen anything like that in quite a long time. Funimation had announced the cast several different days, and then
mm-hmm.
finally, here's the lead. And
Yep.
some of the some of the speculation was fantastic, but you must be super excited to be attached to the project.
I am. You know, it was man, Attack on Titan. It was one of those shows that everybody on my Facebook news feed just was like, "This show's amazing," and I'm like, I'm not gonna watch it because
You sound like me.
well, it's not it's as an actor, if you're seeing something's really popular, um, probably the worst thing you can do is get attached to it and then not be a part of it, you know? So from my standpoint, I was like, if this show is as good as everybody's making it out, I don't want to see it, and I don't want to get hooked on it and then get heartbroken when I don't get cast, because uh, with the magnitude of popularity that Attack on Titan had, my friends and I, we were all sort of speculating. My friends who also voice act with Funimation, we were all sort of speculating, like, well, this will probably be a show that goes to Mike McFarland, and because he directs the really big properties, it seems like, you know, where he had things like Summer Wars and Wolf Children and then Full Metal Alchemist. You know, those are the things that that the that just have a claim, you know, in the dub. And so I had worked with Mike a little bit on Walla. I had done Walla for him on like One Piece, and he called me in for Walla on the Evangelion movie. But we had never really worked with each other where I was playing a character for him, and you know, and he's directing me, and we never had that relationship. We hadn't established that relationship yet. And I was like, there's no chance that I'm going to get in this show. Like, I honestly did not believe I would. And when I got my audition for Attack on Titan, I was scheduled as the first audition of all of the auditions. So, like, there were 3 days of auditions. I was audition number one.
That's
And
pressure. Oh my God.
yeah, so, you know, and Mike took in a just an unprecedented number of auditions. Like, he is, as you can see from the cast, in that there are so many people that like we've never heard do anime dubs, or they're from LA, you know. He had auditions come in from everywhere. And I mean, he didn't even just have the auditions for those 3 days. He had auditions coming in through email and just monstrous numbers of them. And I mean, so to be the first audition that he heard of everybody, I was like, there's no chance. I have 100 opportunities to be outshined after me. And so I was like, well, I guess I'll just go into this audition and I will pick three characters that are going to sort of portray my vocal range and my acting range, and then maybe I'll get called in to be something on One Piece, you know, like when he goes back to directing One Piece, and and so for the audition, I remember looking over everyone, and I ended up auditioning for Aaron, Reiner, and Armin, just because I thought they gave me the best display of my voice range, and so then I knew when the casting was going to be done, and And that day came and went, and I didn't hear anything. And I was like, well, no surprise. Totally okay. And a week later, I ended up getting contacted like, Mike has 6 hours on Attack on Titan for you. Are you able to record? And I was like, yeah, I don't, I don't know what that means. You didn't tell me a character or something. I'm probably someone who just gets eaten. And so I was like, all right, well, that's cool. I guess I stuck out somehow. And then I went in to do the recording for the first. It was only the first few episodes. It wasn't like the whole show was recorded in those 6 hours. Um, but I walk in the booth and I have no idea who I'm recording for. And he's like, "Yeah, you're playing Connie," and I'm like, "Isn't that a girl's name?" But that's okay. And and then he's like, "There was something in your auditions. Your Aaron audition was really good, but there was something in your auditions that made me think of this character while you were auditioning." And I was like, okay, I don't know what that means. And then when I saw Connie, I remembered reading the audition sides, and I'm like, oh, this is the guy that's described as not being smart. Okay. And I'm like, I hope that's not what Mike heard in my auditions that related me to the character. But so then we ended up we started off, and it was kind of funny. We realized that my voice was really similar to the Seiyu's voice, and it just sort of went on from there. That I became Connie Springer, and it was cool. It was a cool. It was a really cool. Just everything about it was cool because I didn't audition for the character, and I didn't expect to get anything for the show. Um, just because I was so new. I still hadn't even been working with Funimation for a full year at the time, and so I just didn't think at any moment that I would actually be able to pull something off and get in the show. So it was a tremendous surprise and an honor to get to be in it, and I'm glad that people are excited for it.
Well, I have to say, I'm happy with the way you told that story, especially your train of thoughts, because a lot of times, when we hear about, auditions for something, I got it, they're just happy they got it. Not
Yeah.
that, oh man, does Mike think I'm stupid?
Well, no, I like. There's also an element of it that Mike and I are, I think, and I obviously don't mean this to be something offensive. I think Mike and I are very different people, where we've had discussions about like, hey, what's your favorite superhero movie? And like my favorite superhero movie is his least favorite superhero movie. And it's just like we'll have this conversation and we completely see things differently. And I kind of have this joke in my head of that when I talk to Mike, I have so many moments where I'm like, he must think I'm stupid because why would anyone have said that to him? And so I almost think that played to my advantage in getting cast as Connie because just because there's so many moments where I think I must have a look on my face where I'm like, oh, I'm so dumb, and it's just one of those moments where you're like, man, I don't really relate to his opinions. So it's kind of like, all right, well, that's weird. But
Hey, opposites are a good thing. As far as I'm concerned, if people have different viewpoints and you can get along, sometimes you can make magic.
yeah, no, and I completely agree with that. And it was great to be able to work with him because the performances that we pulled through on Attack on Titan, it's one of to date one of the most it's one of the experiences that made me grow the most as an actor. Where like because like I was saying, Mike and I see things and perceive things completely differently. When we'd be recording, he would be focusing on an element of the Seiyu's performance that I was not focusing on. I was focusing on this other part of it. And then we would kind of just hammer out the details until we hit this point where it was like it kind of was mixing what both of us were hearing, and I, I think it made the performance stronger because of it, just because we were so different. Um, and like I said, I hope that people enjoy it because it was a very was a very challenging but very rewarding production process for that character, for me at least. So,
Well, I know the show is really dramatic and there's a lot of screaming and crying and,
mhm,
just a ton of emotion.
mhm,
But what I'm very happy with is the type of trailers that Funimation revealed as like kind of
mhm,
like, little snippets of the dub. I think those showed a good portrayal of emotion. So I'm really excited to hear the dub. Like
mhm,
you, I haven't seen the series. I
mhm.
I was very, adamant. I'm gonna wait until it's dubbed. It's an action series. I don't want to read subtitles. I'm sorry. I just don't.
Well, no, that is one I completely support your decision. I actually ended up uh during production because I kind of wanted to get more into Mike's head. I went through and ended up actually watching the show so that I could kind of see where he was focusing on, and that ended up, I think, also strengthening my performance when I finally had seen it. And I will just say because we have the HD final animation version that we were recording off of and everything. That footage is just breathtakingly beautiful, and it's all the animation and the colors and just everything about it is like you just watch it, you're just like, holy cow, this is incredible. Um, that to watch it with subtitles almost robs it a little bit because you're kind of missing the nuances of the way that they did the animation. Um, so I think that's good that you're waiting for the dub because you're gonna see those elements and those artistic nuances that are in it that are just amazing, and I think you're really gonna enjoy it when you get to see it. So,
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, a lot of people out there think that I just watch dubs and that's it, but I'm very I mean, I have closed captioning on when I watch Project Runway. I don't need subtitles for that, but I have them on anyway.
right.
But I don't know what it is, but with more like slice of life shows, I just
Mhm.
prefer to have the subtitles on, and with action shows, I feel like there's a big chunk missing or I can't get into the action as much because I'm watching the subtitled version. So, I wanted to wait because everybody is freaking out and
Mhm.
burning their underwear over Attack on Titan. So people are extremely excited about that series. So much so that I was really surprised at some of the speculation that I
Mhm.
saw
Mhm.
for the dub cast, especially for the title character. I don't know if you searched around the internet or anything, but people were like, "It's a triple A celebrity. It's gonna be like Ewan McGregor or Hugh Laurie or
Oh,
something."
I didn't see that. I saw a lot of people speculating different voice actors that they thought would be cast. But I never saw anybody calling out screen actor names.
That
Um,
was really funny to me. I
so
think people were like expecting the moon and more.
yeah,
And I have to once again say that hey, on-camera actors might not be the best voice actors, so
no, no, and I agree. I think screen acting is a completely different um, beast personally because that was sort of one of the things that I learned while I was learning my trade was that I don't particularly favor um, screen acting. I can do it, but if I'm acting against somebody that I know, I tend to start like laughing, and I can't hold my character uh, so much. I can get through it, but there are times where like I almost can't take the moment seriously because it's like there's that thing where you're like just goofing around with your friend, right? And then you try and do something serious and you keep referring back to that goofy moment in your head and you just start laughing, you know? Um, that that was sort of my problem growing up, learning acting and everything was that in person I can't hold my straight face, but like I still developed the craft of then I can just do it with my voice and move into just cartoons. Um, so I have a lot of respect for people that do screen acting, but there is certainly that you hear it all the time when you see um, certain movies that major titles that they get screen actors to do it. There are some times where you're like, man, you if you'd cast a voice actor, it probably would have been a much better performance. And we deal with that all the time. So
Well, for the fans out there that want to catch, a sample of your voice right now, they can grab Robotics Notes,
Yes.
which I believe came out in February. It's available on Funimation
Mhm.
store. I think the limited edition might still be available. I could be wrong.
I'm not 100%
I am
sure.
not 100% sure, but I am in the store looking for it right now. But you play a title character in that. Would you like to tell the listeners a little bit about your character?
Yeah, sure. I voiced Kaito Yashio in Robotics Notes. He's the lead character, which that was a huge milestone for me, um, personally, because I had gotten an audition with Joel McDonald for the series that was later named Good Luck Girl, originally called Bimbo Gamiga, and so we wrapped that show, which I got cast on, which was surprising, because I've never worked with Funimation before. I got the audition and then got cast, and then he called me in for the Robotics Notes audition, um, cast me as the main character, and the first recording session for that was on April 1st last year, 2013, and I honestly walked into the session, looked at Joel, and I went, okay, because that time they did message me like, can you come in and record for Kaito? And I walked in, I looked at Joel, and I went, okay, so this is like an April Fool's joke, right? So like, what am I actually recording? And Joel turned to Peter, the engineer, and he goes, we have to pull that prank on someone now. But it wasn't a prank at all. Is that I got cast as the main character, which was, like I said, just shocking, and I did not expect that to happen. Um, Kaito, though, is a senior in high school, just about to finish his last year of high school and school in general. And he's best friends with this childhood friend of his, Akiho. And they are the only two members of this club that their school has that is dedicated to robots. And Akiho has this dream of finishing her older sister's project, which was to build a real life giant robot based on the titular robot from an anime within the show called Gunbarrel. So they're trying to build this giant Gunbarrel robot, and you see what Gunbarrel looks like in the anime, and then you see what Gunbarrel looks like to them, like the Gunbarrel that they've built, and it's just this big, blocky, not impressive looking robot at all. And they're trying to keep the club afloat, which it's initially may get shut down, and then they have to go through all these trials and tribulations to get like budget, and and along the way, Kaito starts to discover this conspiracy that's been happening, because it's a part of the science adventure series, which includes Chaos Head and Steins Gate, and they're all these science conspiracy secret things are happening behind the scenes that you need to find out and go through and discover and uncover and stop.
That's
And
what the semicolon represents for everybody out there.
yeah, exactly. The semicolon in the title, it ties them all together. Um, and so Kaito discovers this conspiracy, and it ties into everything. Like, it has to do with him as a kid, and it has to do with what happens to Aki's older sister, and just everything comes together because of this, these secret strings that are being pulled, and and it's an incredible series in my mind, in my perception of it, because throughout everything that happens in the show and through the dark times and just all of the events, the whole show is about um, pursuing and achieving your dreams at whatever cost it requires. And so the show was uh, very emotionally attached to me once I got involved in it, and I got to this point where I started seeing these things happen, because it was something I related to so much. Where it was like from how I told you my whole story of that I wanted to become something involved in the entertainment industry, and then I went and did it. So I related so much to that, because they're all the people in the series that tell them you're never going to accomplish it and you're never going to be anything special, and you're never going to be anything. You're just going to be some kid. And they stand up and say, no, I'm going to accomplish it and I'm going to do it. And then, I mean, to a certain extent, those things happen. And but I'm not gonna like tell you guys too much. I don't want to like spoil it. But things do come out to a point where their dreams are the culmination of what the series is about and standing against the bad things that are happening in the world. Um, so it's to me it's an incredible series because it's about pursuing those sorts of ideals and standing up for what you believe in. And I encourage everyone to watch it if you have ever had a dream that you've wanted to pursue. I think the show will speak to you. So that's sort of a. You asked me about my character. I've told you too much about the show, but so
Hey,
that's
it
sort
makes
of
my
my
job
thoughts.
easier. It's less questions I have to ask.
Well, I'm glad I could help you, Jackie.
But no, I'm happy that you told us so much about the series. I think that'll definitely sell a lot of people on it. And as I said, it is available right now on Funimation.com, and I'm sure it's also on Right Stuff because what isn't at this point?
Mm.
So feel free to pick it up. I'm excited to experience the show myself because you have sold me on it so completely that I feel like it would be a dishonor if I didn't see it now.
Ha! My job is done.
Curse you! No, I'm kidding. It's okay. My wallet will cry for a bit, but it'll be fine.
Oh.
But for the listeners out there, is there any other projects that you have coming up that you can talk about, or anything that you're working on that you won't get shot by NDA snipers if you?
um, Nothing that I'm working on at the moment I can really talk about. But I just had announced that I play Ichijo Takenagi in Red Data Girl, which that was a cool role. Strictly because it's my first bad guy. Um, Whereas I have been, this kind of Kaito and Suibuki, my character from Good Luck Girl. They're both very sort of stoic but good-hearted guys, and then Connie is also a good-hearted guy, but he's a comedic relief character. Takinagi is the first bad guy, and was also one of the roles that was challenging to me as an actor because I had to enter a different sort of state of mind and focus on the way that I even spoke, um, because with the way of this character, Takinagi's sort of arrogant, and he has a superiority complex where he believes that he's better than just everyone else in the show, and that his goals are more important than anything else. And so we would record, and Joel was the ADR director on that as well, and he would be like, that was the read. You said yeah instead of you. And I was like, ah. So we'd have to do the whole line again because I would have to focus on my pronunciation of different words and make sure that if I said the word going, it has a G on the end of it and not just going. Or, are you going to the store is not, are you going to the store? So like, it was another role that was like really interesting and exciting to be a part of and helped me grow as an actor, I felt, because it made me constantly focus on my my involvement with a character that I didn't have a sort of like spiritual connection with. Whereas like in Robotics Notes, the character of Kaito is so similar to me that like when people have messaged me like, I just bought Robotics Notes, I'm like, cool, you're gonna have fun watching it because it's gonna sound like you're hanging out with me because that character is so much like me. There's almost no disconnect. Whereas with Takinagi, I had to constantly be in that focus of like being being the character and focusing on what the character is rather than my myself in the character. You know what I mean? It's kind of a weird.
No,
Um,
I understand. It's I don't do any character work, but sometimes I'll do commercial. And for example, you say internet. our our internet,
Yes.
depending on how you're supposed to be doing it. Or for example, I didn't know regionally I say bouquet and some people say bouquet, and I didn't know that.
Oh, okay.
So, things like that that I didn't realize that I've had teachers tell me. So I do understand in that sense.
Right, yeah. So that was a really interesting role, and excuse me, and I'm really excited that that's starting to trickle out because it was a fun performance for me, and Micah Solasad is one of my best friends out here, and so for him and I to get to act against one another was a lot of fun, um, and it just was sort of funny because like we'd we'd each have our own sessions at separate times and everything, and then we'd get together on the weekend and we just start like laughing about things that happen in the show, and sort of joking around about it because like um, my character like makes I don't know how to really explain it. He sort of has like an assistant that is sort of like a ghost zombie creature, and and then Micah's character like destroys that zombie thing, and I had a running joke that I would refer to this thing as like my pool boy, like because it does all the work for me. I'd be like, oh, my pool boy will handle it, and so when Mike and I got together afterwards and we were talking about that, I was like, no, my pool boy, you destroyed him, and so
Who will
that kind of
deliver
became
my martinis to me when I'm sitting by the
exactly.
pool in my Speedo?
Exactly. So that kind of became like a running joke between us. That we actually, it's funny. I saw him right before I came to this to do this interview, and that came up again. The discussion about the pool boy.
We'll
So
have to
it's
get him back on the show just to ask him why he killed a pool boy.
yeah, he'll know what you're talking about. I promise you. So
Well, for the fans out there, I believe that the tentative release date for that is June 17th.
yes.
So if you want to pre-order that, you can pre-order it on Amazon or, various other locations. I just happen to have Amazon up for it because that's the first place I could find the date. Thank you, Internet.
Yay, internet! You're the best.
But no, I know a lot of people who are super excited for the series. And in fact, I have a lot of friends who have been raving about it. So that is actually on my pre-order list.
Oh, very
That
good.
so I'm just kind of waiting to get it in my hands to consume it. I know I can consume it, but once again, I think that'll be a better one with a dub.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting show, and that show was the first time that I became aware of Bryn April, who is new. She's newer to Funimation than I am,
Mhm.
and she's just phenomenally talented. She's playing Krista on Attack on Titan, and she's she's just amazing as just amazing actress, and so that was cool to get to work in that show because it was sort of like I was seeing happen to her as I felt was happening to me, where she had gotten cast in smaller parts and now she was taking on her first lead, very similar to how I had done with Robotics Notes. And so that was really cool I sort of felt like I was part of something cool in her life. I don't know if she feels the same way, but it was cool for me. So, um, and like I said, she's just expertly talented, and she's gonna be she's going to be one of those people that you hear about a lot um, in the coming years for sure. So,
Well, for the listeners out there who want to keep up to date with stuff that you have coming out, is there any place on the internet where they can stalk you in a nice way?
well, in the nicest ways possible, you can follow me on Twitter at Clifford Chapin, CliffordChapin. And then I also have a Facebook page that's just Clifford Chapin voice actor, which is where I post more voice acting related things. My Twitter, I kind of just tell really bad, mostly not funny jokes, and then which people tell me then are really funny, and I don't know why, but that's okay. And then my voice acting page is like I said, mostly where I'm like, this is where you can find the trailers, and this is where you can find the clips, and the show is out, and stuff like that. So major like cast announcements and stuff like that, I usually post about on Facebook, and then Twitter, I talk a little bit about them, but mostly I'm telling jokes that make me laugh and probably not anybody else. So I don't know. If you want to stalk me, that's the place to do it. And please don't come to my house.
Yeah, not the house, but are there any, events you have coming up where they can stalk you in real life and ask for hugs?
Um, I have some, not very many, and I unfortunately can't talk about them. I'm sorry, they haven't been announced yet. But there are some things coming up, and when they are okay to be talked about, I will post about them on Twitter and on Facebook. So that would be the place to check.
Fair enough. But for the listeners out there, they're super excited because we're about to ask you if you'd be willing to participate in our 91.8 The Fan tradition.
I feel obligated to say yes, but I don't know what it is.
We basically ask if you'd be willing to do a radio bump for us.
Oh, sure, I'll do a radio bump.
Wonderful. The trick, however, is that any mess ups that happen, they get to hear
Okay.
it. Ruining careers since
Ah,
2010.
oh, it's okay. I've been trying to ruin my career since I was 5, so it's all right.
Oh,
Um,
perfect. But
um,
basically, we ask if you'd be willing to say, hello, my name is, you insert your name, I do this. You can insert your voice actor, you can say characters you've been, whatever you want to put there.
uh-huh.
And you're tuned into 91.8, The Fan.
91.8 The Fan. Okay. Okay,
So
so that's even easier than I was expecting. I was expecting like you want character, like a character one.
if you want to do a character one, you can. We're not going to pressure you into that, but it's up to you.
Yeah, sure. Let me
Then
think.
whenever you're ready.
Okay. This is Clifford Chapin. I'm the voice of Connie Springer on Attack on Titan. Please keep listening because you're listening to 91.8 The Fan.
Look at that. That wasn't even hard for you.
Now, see,
I
because I
mean,
took radio courses and stuff like that.
oh, okay, cool. Awesome. You're one of us. You should have said that
Yeah.
from the beginning. We could have
I,
gotten you
well,
an
I,
official hat and a foam finger. It would have been
there,
awesome.
there are foam fingers? Should have gotten one. Yeah, so I don't know if you I don't know if you want me to do one as a character too. I'll do one, I guess.
If
Uh
you're willing to do one, we would love to hear it.
okay. Yeah, sure.
Then awesome. Whenever you're ready.
This is Connie Springer. You're listening to 91.8 The Fan. Keep listening because the Titans are coming.
I think that's perfect and a good
Thanks.
warning.
Good.
So, is there anything else you'd like to tell the listeners out there? Any words of wisdom, dating advice, predictions for the end of the world?
Well, if you follow my Twitter, you know I am no one to give dating advice. Um, but first of all, if you guys have been following any of the work I'm doing, or you're gonna go and check it out, I want to say thank you. Um, that means a lot to me. I get messages from people every now and again, and it is the most humbling experience to hear from you guys and to say things that you appreciate my work, um, and that you enjoy what I did or that you liked my character or something like that. That's um, it's like I said, it's humbling, and so thank you, and thank you to everybody that I've gotten to work with, uh, all the directors and the engineers and just the cast members, and everybody has been fantastic for me. And I want everyone to know that I appreciate how much everyone has done for me and just everything. Um, so that's my like heartfelt message. If you if you have a dream, I think you can do it. That's my whole thing. Is if you have something you want to do and you want to go for it, you can. Um, but you have to be willing to dedicate yourself to it, and you have to be willing to go through the hard times and the hardships and the challenges that come with pursuing your dreams. And I hope that when you decide to go for what you want to do, that you are ready emotionally for it, because if you aren't, it will destroy you. And so I encourage you all to go for your dreams, but be strong and be ready for them. Um, and that goes for anything, whether you want to be a voice actor, if you want to be an electrician, if you want to be anything in the world, you have to be ready to go for it and be ready to face the hardships with it. And and I encourage you to pursue them because your life is your life, and there's no point in living it unhappy. So go out and do what you want to do. And that's my message.
And I think that will touch a lot of people's hearts and encourage them to buy robotics notes.
Yes. Yes, the subtext and subliminal messages I put in that just worked out perfectly. So,
But no, thank you very much for joining us today. It was a lot of fun.
thank you for having me. I'm glad to have been able to do this.
And for anybody out there that missed any of this interview, shame on you, but don't fret, it'll be up on the website within the next few days, so keep it tuned to 91.8 The Fan. Everything you want and nothing you don't.